So before I applied to Smith and decided to get my degree in business, I was thinking about law school. I did my bachelor's in criminal justice, criminology and criminal justice. I had some interest in business. Obviously, I did a minor at Smith School as well. Going through my bachelor's, I realized, a little bit late that I wanted to pivot into something else, and this was an opportunity to do that. I was looking into a couple industries. I think that's pretty important, right? Post-grad, where I wanted to take my career. So I had an interest in finance, so maybe financial services. Also had an interest in consulting as well, right? And it was really hard to reconcile between the two at that time. So I knew that I was able to get a plethora of knowledge, right? Taking various courses, getting fundamental understanding of everything, since I necessarily didn't have that. And on top of that, the second semester I could take more focused classes, or classes I had more interest in, right? Exit opportunities post-grad. I had options, right? I could go into consulting if I wanted to. I also had the skills to go into finance as well. So I think that flexibility, I think, was a great thing, and I appreciated that. I currently work at JP Morgan as part of their middle market banking and specialized industries program. So we work with startups, growth companies, mid-cap companies, so up to maybe $3 billion. So one of the things that really helped and I guess transferred over to that role, aside from the finance courses I took, finance classes that I took, was obviously a strategy course that I took during my time here. A lot of things we do in terms of structuring deals and trying to make the numbers work in terms of making sure the client is getting what they want. That strategy portion I think really helped. You look at the bigger picture, you see what type of capability, resources that we have as a company, and you look at it from a different lens sometimes, and I think the program helped do a similar type of simulation. I did use Office of Career Services as part of my job search as a whole. So one of the things that I did quite often with them was check in with them often based on how my resume looked. I know there's recruiting events here on campus, so preparing myself for those career fairs, making sure I was prepared to go forward and actually apply for a role, put my name out there to the recruiter. They were extremely helpful in that. On top of that, I did mention when I did have a couple interviews, I did go to them and I asked for guidance on what can I do, or is there anything in my interviewing skills that you're seeing that I could learn from, or is there anything you can tell me about this role or this company? They were very helpful. They had a lot of resources, and I definitely leveraged that. I would also say the professors were also extremely helpful as too. I TA'd for a professor here during my time. He's an executive in residence, so he did work in the industry that I was looking into. So they were extremely helpful. He functioned as almost as a mentor to me at that time. So I appreciated him answering all my questions, leveraging his own network, to get me in front of people, and so I think everyone here, even OCS, whatever it is, I think everyone here is collectively trying to help you get to where you want to get to. You come in and you're part of the Smith network, and that is not just your peers that you're in a cohort with, that extends to professors, that extends to faculty, that extends to alumni. And a lot of things I've seen in terms of landing a top role, getting some type of guidance or help. One of your first stops is usually an alum, and they are very helpful. I've had people from the program reach out to me as well, and I have done everything I can as well to help them. So there is a network that you can build here at Smith, and then if you need any help aside from that, there are people who are willing to help you. So that's just something I would say.